Joining us now on set is Senator Dave McCormick of Pennsylvania, serving on multiple committees, foreign relations, banking, energy. I mean, those are literally the three things we want to talk about today, Senator. Good. So this is perfect to have you in. Number one, I know he's your friend, okay? Pittsburgh guy, I believe, Kevin Warsh, where you're from. So what are you expecting out of your friend in the Federal Reserve chair today?
Well, listen, I think he was a great choice for a couple reasons. One, he understands markets. Two, he understands the Fed. And three, he's got a reformer's heart. So he's not going to take the way the Fed has operated in the past as a predictor of how it should operate in the future.
What does reformer's heart mean? Sounds like a song.
First of all, the Fed has really spiraled over the last 2 decades in terms of its mandate, how it's used its balance sheet, really taken on a set of responsibilities that weren't consistent with its original mandate. I think he's going to think about bringing it back to a more narrow ambition. And over time, shrinking that balance sheet. And he's also going to think differently, I believe, about how he communicates to the markets. I think he's going to be much more discreet in terms of how he speaks to the markets and the expectations he sets. The final thing I'll say is he described in his hearing, I like this, he wants to have sort of family fights. In other words, he's not trying to build some from fragile consensus. He's trying to really sort it out and have people argue and make their case. So I suspect the first meeting is going to reflect all those things.
Although the first press conference is paradoxical for those goals because press conferences don't go back that long. He could get rid of them if he wanted. I don't know if he'll seem not uncomfortable up there. He's obviously quite comfortable in the limelight. But does he feel that it was interesting to talk to, I think it was Powell was asked at the last Fed meeting, and they said, well, why did you go to doing these meetings every time? And he said, we felt like we could only adjust policy when we were at a press conference meeting. Yeah. And so from that point of view, I thought that was fascinating insight into kind of how those decisions might work in real time. They wanted to be able to explain it. So maybe that event sticks around, but he makes changes elsewhere in terms of that.
Yeah, it could be. And maybe the nature of that event will change over time. I don't think you're going to see any radical change on day one, but I think he's going to go into it with an expectation that the Fed's going to evolve under his leadership in ways that we'll look back 12, 24, 36 months and we'll say, that's a different Federal Reserve. It's not going to happen overnight.
Should he kill the press conference?
I don't know. You know, we'll have to see.
That's not a no.
Yeah. We'll have to see.
Kelly's point, it's not been around that long.
Yeah.
And I don't want anybody we work with to hear this because I know we take the press conference live on CNBC, but should that go away? Should the summary of economic projections, better known as the dot plots, go away?
Well, he certainly thinks that the dot plots should require some significant change, but which he made that clear in his testimony. But think about it this way. He's going to be driving a change agenda. So I haven't spoken to him about this, but my guess is he'll need to find the right form to communicate the changes taking place over time. So the irony is, the paradox is, one of the vehicles to communicate the changes and the reforms might be the actual press conference as a mechanism to do that. But I think the nature of the press conference, at least to start, will be very different, and we'll see over time. I wouldn't rule out anything.
Could you still make the case for a rate cut here? Do you think he would want? If you had, look, all hour long, we've been hearing people, and this is saying inflation is sticky. It's been 5 years now. It's been 25% now. Warsh himself has said this is full stop the Fed's responsibility. Patrick Harker says, I've left the Fed. I'm even more convinced inflation should be their only fight. So wouldn't he normally seem to say, look, we've got to raise rates and just quell this? Or is he going to, you think you can still make a case for cuts?
Well, I think he's not going to do anything today. I think they're going to keep the rates where they are. And I think that the thing that's a little bit hard to factor in at this point, I do think we're in an unprecedented moment in terms of how to read the economic indicators. On one hand, we're in the middle of a conflict that's a shock to the oil markets. It's a big driver of the uptick in inflation. On the other hand, we're in this moment of enormous capital investment, unprecedented in our time, that's going to have significant effects on productivity. And as Kevin said in his testimony, he expects that productivity to be a big driver that'll keep inflation in check. So how those two come together in this moment, I suspect what he'll say is, let's get more data. Let's get more data.
So Pennsylvania, I love what you guys do. And I know you don't always agree politically with the governor, but I feel like you guys have worked together really well on energy. So let me ask this directly. There's been this sort of arching theme that the investment in AI will sort of overpower higher gas prices. So for your voter in Du Bois, and it is Du Bois, Pennsylvania, filling up at a Sheetz at $4.50 a gallon versus $3.50 a gallon. Does the AI capital spending investment, does that override that higher gas price?
It depends on what we do. So in other words, we have to have energy production that exceeds the new demand that's coming from AI. So if we get out of our own way, we have permitting reform, we embrace energy dominance, and we have energy that meets that moment and goes beyond that moment, then energy prices are going to come down over time. But that's the question. And permitting reform is the most significant thing we could do, not just for energy policy. It's not just energy. It is economic policy. There's $1.5 trillion sitting on the sidelines. This is where I say I've introduced a new permitting reform bill. We need to get on that right now.